Thank you very much to the association for putting this on. I know a lot of things go into the logistical work of putting together meetings like that, so I very much appreciate it. My name is Paul Curtman. I'm running for state representative in the 105th district, which encompasses Jefferson County, Franklin County, a little sliver of St. Louis County. To kind of set myself up, I got a lot to say. I'm going to try to speak fast. Hope everybody can understand me. I never really had any political ambitions, really. I never really even paid attention very much to government, really up until about 7 or 8 years ago. I served 10 years of my life in the United States Marine Corps as an infantryman, as a squad leader with 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines, Golf Company, in operations in support of Operation Enduring Freedom and the global war on terror. I remember that back during the presidential election of 2004, it wasn't just Democrats, but Republicans also. I'm going to be fair about this. There was people that were for the war, then against the war, then for the war, then against the war. And it really rubbed me the wrong way because I'm thinking, well, as a sergeant in the United States Marine Corps, I'm thinking, wait a second, our troops overseas don't really have the luxury of deciding whether or not they're for putting on their body armor that day. And so it really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I started getting involved a little bit, started reading. I revisited things like the Constitution. I revisited things like the Declaration of Independence. Come to find out, I believe that government in America today is quite far removed from anything maybe that our founding fathers had intended for America to be. For example, the Declaration of Independence says we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. From that, we find out that our founding fathers had two principles when they drafted the Constitution. First of all, that Constitution was drafted to protect our rights. Not to give us our rights. It was drafted to protect our rights. And in order for our government to do anything, to pass any kinds of legislation to protect our rights, they have to do that if and only if they have our consent to do it. So when we talk about issues in Missouri or in America as a whole, really, things like eminent domain, people have an inherent right to own private property. It's inherent because somebody has to own it. And if people don't have a right to own property, well then who makes that law? Who makes that who says that? But the government. Therefore, the government makes a claim of ownership over property just to tell other people that they can't own property. Other issues. The right to life. I am ardently pro-life, and I'll tell you why. Because the government cannot define our rights. The government was instituted to protect our rights. And if the government can tell us when our right to life begins, well then what right can they not touch? Then they can tell us when our right to own property begins. This is just fundamental, I would say, common sense, some of these issues. And I honestly believe, as a 29-year-old, 10-year Marine Corps veteran, I took an oath to the Constitution when I joined the Marines. I think our founding fathers were very, very wise when they began to draft this country. And I think that we are slipping away, almost at warp speed sometimes I feel this way. But I think that we're getting away from a lot of the fundamental principles, the sound principles of good government. One of the reasons we're in the financial mess that we're in America today is because our government, because with the consent of the people, our government has begun to erode and corrode and flake away at the sound financial principles that we have to have just in order to run a country and provide for our own general welfare through the protection and help and creation of our own infrastructures. I think that it is fundamentally important that we have leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Whether or not it's a conversation that's going on between two people, or whether or not it's a small business, everything rises and falls on leadership. And I think at this point in American history, and I'm not saying that this isn't a Republican-Democrat thing. These are just fundamental principles. It is most definitely important that we have the right kind of leadership in office. People that are grounded in good principles, not just in adhering or just blind loyalty to a political party. I got it on my flyer. Blind loyalty to political parties, in many cases, has done nothing but help expand government and create deficits that are going to take generations to pay off. It is not, the parties don't fix things, but sound principles do. I am running as a Republican. I do believe in the principles as stated in the Republican platform. And there are some issues that the Republican Party has embraced that I feel like I need to embrace, such as pro-life. That's why I'm running for state representative. I want to be a voice of sound financial principles and personal freedom in Jefferson City. If anybody wants to know more about that, www.paulcurtman.com. And I don't have a voting record, but everything that I believe is in a book that I wrote, and if anybody wants to find out information about how to get that, I'll talk to you later. But I don't have a voting record, but I do have my name stamped in big black letters on my personal beliefs. Thank you very much.
I also had a book with my